Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 102 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one television review podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, October 16th, 2017.
I'm Tim, a sports shooter, father of three, and the owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good. I'm also the descendant of beer-drinking immigrants.
I'm Gavin, business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club.
My name is Andrew. As always, I'm your host. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical.
Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. And leave us some more 5-star reviews on iTunes, please. They help other people find the show and become woke, if you will.
You can check the podcast out on Facebook, facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast, or on Instagram, instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast. We're on a bunch of the social media. Check us out on Canadian Patriot Podcast. We're easy to find like that.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get the uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 per episode, and the more you pledge, the better the rewards are.
All right, let's go into what are we drinking. We'll start with Gavin. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the Kraken and Coke Zero again.
Nice. Tim, what are you drinking?
I'm still in my big bottle of 40 Creek Barrel Select, and I'm mixing that with reverse osmosis water.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Alex said it.
I'm into my first beer in several days. Shakespeare Brewing Company's The Reckless Rooster, an Ontario Pale Ale. I feel like I could have said that better. An Ontario Pale Ale.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, no, that's what I got.
It's Ontario Tail Ale.
No, I just have to edit that. Gavin, do you want to tell us about a course you recently took?
Yes, I would love to tell you about that. So this weekend, I was fortunate enough to participate in the Titan Tactical Pistol and Carbine Operator course in the wonderful small town of Madoc, Ontario. Super small range, but awesome. We were pretty much the only ones on it, which was kind of incredible for a Saturday, and a Saturday that ended up actually being quite nice weather-wise. A little overcast, but temperature-wise, perfect. So the course was, I don't know if I would say it's quite a beginner class. Only needed to kind of show up already being familiar with your, preferred carbine and pistol, and know how to sort of, do the basic manipulations, like point it at the thing that you want to shoot and do magazine changes and all of that fun stuff. And it to sort of contrast it to the Ragnarok class, it wasn't so much about, as Tim likes to say, making the holes between your holes smaller. It was more practicing doing stuff that's not necessarily super conventional, if you will. There was a lot of weak hand shooting and alternating between strong and weak side with both rifle and pistol, and shooting, from cover or through barricades. So you're kind of contorting yourself into strange shooting positions, and then having to throw in, transitions and stuff like that as well, which was fun.
Okay, that sounds pretty exciting. That's a one-day course?
Yes. So yeah, I don't know if I would call this, an intermediate or advanced per se, but maybe, a half step up from a basic class. But certainly a lot of fun.
Right.
I mean, because you're
Not fundamentals, but working on, sounds like movement manipulation.
pretty much, that would be an accurate way to describe that. You
And
had to know how to do your mag changes. And
did they work on that at all? Were they like, this is a better way to do mag changes, or was the expectation already that you know how to like feed the gun?
yeah, it was. We didn't cover that at all. And in fact, actually, what we would do is, for the most part, rather than working on any sort of like stoppages or mag changes, it was if you were doing one of the drills and for whatever reason your rifle malfunctioned or ran dry, you would immediately transition to your handgun and
Oh, that
finish the
sounds like
drill
fun.
with your handgun. So
So
yeah, it was
hot
pretty
handguns?
pretty interesting. For part of it, but then that was just sort of in the beginning, and then we went to Israeli draw.
Okay, yep.
So mag in, but not hot.
Yeah, so on drawing the pistol, you'd have to rack one in and then start firing.
Yeah, so kind of like a CQB style for the competition style, anyways. But
yeah, I just in case a listener doesn't know what Israeli draws are like, that's a new thing.
But I mean, it sort of depended on the drill. Sometimes we would have a hot handgun. Other times it would be you'd have to rack it, just depending on what exactly we were doing, and for safety's sake and or for speed of the drill, we would do one or the other.
I gotcha.
Yeah, focus more on moving and shooting and sort of different types of movement and how to do them efficiently.
Okay.
Like if you're
that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, if you're off center of your target and you need to face your target, which foot do you use to step forward or backward? So which is the least amount of movement to get you centered on your target and things like that.
And sorry, you said it was a one full day course, so like an 8-hour day kind of a thing?
Yeah, it started at 9 and we were done at 4:00 with like a short break for lunch. I'd say round count
And what's
was
something
somewhere
like that
in...
run you?
No, I would have to look that up. I am sorry, I don't have that information on hand right now, and I can't remember. But
Okay,
anyone
well,
that
round
is
counts, things like that.
Yeah, so round count was, it varied, between person to person depending on if their gun malfunctioned. But I would say somewhere around 200 rifle, 200 pistol was probably my round count.
Okay.
So not super super high, like kind of comparable to the Ragnarok courses, which in my opinion is good, because I mean if you do that 1,000 times, are you really getting that much more out of it? No, you're just spending more money.
I got you.
But great instruction. Former Canadian Forces, private contractor. Pat's been there and done that, and counterterrorism, the whole deal. So super qualified to be teaching all of this stuff, and some of the little tidbits here and there that he sort of passed on I would say were pretty helpful, and interesting.
Good stuff. Anything else you want to share about that course? Or actually, do you want to plug who that was through? Because I don't think we've actually named the company.
Sorry?
Do you want to plug who that was through? I don't think we actually said who ran that course. Was it Titan Tactical? I feel like it was Titan Tactical. Is my internet gone out?
You went all robot-y on me.
Titan, yeah.
Ah, okay. My internet.
One more time.
Yeah,
sorry.
So, that's fine.
I can hear you now.
Sorry. Good. And who was that course through? If a listener wants to go and sign up and find more information.
Your internet or mine is doing it all. Every time you go to talk,
Can you hear me, Gavin?
half of it, but not the other half.
Can you hear me, Gavin?
I can hear you, Tim.
Okay. Who can you name the person? You never named the company that was doing that course. So if you could just
no, didn't I not? No, it was Titan Tactical. So Danielle, who has been on our show before and one of our sponsors for the upcoming cancer charity shoot and podcast charity shoot, they are the company that put this class on.
And where are they loaded? You said it was Madoc?
This class was run out of Madoc, but they're looking at doing a few other locations next year. One of them I hear is going to be Rock Cut, which there may or may not be a low light shooting class next year. So that's definitely on the books for me if that happens.
And it should be.
All right, let's.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Now I can hear you, Andrew.
Can you hear me now?
I can
Excellent.
hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
No. Where was we? Oh yeah, let's go into the news. Right? We're gonna do the news.
Yes, we are.
Hooray! First one, Gavin. I think you found this. The Toronto airport.
Yes. Yes.
I don't Inuit hard enough for this. In Nugagut, maybe? I would have called it an Inukshuk, but I don't think that's actually the right name for this little statue guy made out of rocks.
I think if that's fine for now, but it might be a problem in about 30 years. Your pronunciation.
Why is that, Tim?
I think they have.
Oh,
I think they have several. I think they have several names. Like Inukshuk is one, and what I can't pronounce that other one, but that I think is another name depending on like they have like 40 names for snow. They probably got 40 names for these little rock guys.
Yeah.
So from what I gather, we have some statues that have been erected at Pearson Terminal 1. So it's the Toronto International Airport. It's the Pearson Airport. Otherwise, it's known as my home airport and my least favorite place to fly out of because I have never had an on-time departure from that airport.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment.
They put. God, I hate Pearson. I hate flying out of Pearson so much. Worst airport in North America. Anyway, Terminal 1 has three, air quotes, new statues recently retrieved from storage. They're little rock figures that look vaguely humanoid in shape. They have 2 legs and 2 arms and a little head. Apparently, we commissioned these things in like the 1960s, and then they got put into storage?
63.
Yeah, a little while ago.
Ridiculous. And I guess originally, when it was commissioned, we had the government at the time commissioned an Inuit artist to make a single Inugagat. I still don't feel like that's the right pronunciation for these things, but whatever. We're going with an Inugat.
Inukshuk.
Yeah, Inukshuk thing. But anyway, apparently they've rebuilt it after taking it out of storage, and they now have 3 of them instead of 1 big one. Which not really real news. The part that is real news is the way that the native Northern Canadians build these things is like a signpost for the wilderness. So they mean different things based on how they're built. Here's water, here's food, here's, death. Like apparently with the arms up shape that they're using at the airport, this is a bad omen sign, which based on my experience at Pearson, again, not entirely unexpected.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not the best message you want to send out at the airport. And I mean, like the article says, they do kind of look like guys that are out there signaling the airplanes. So I could see why they would maybe do that. But I guess when you
yeah, but the beautiful part of it is like you guys, the real quote that is, it's not just this is a bad place. Stay away. This is a place of violent death.
Yeah, it's maybe a little stronger worded.
Yeah, it doesn't really have the right branding.
They need one of those guys selling ghost pepper wings.
Although, if they had these 3 assembled from one giant one, did they get an indigenous person to do the reassembly and redistribution of the rocks, or
that seems unlikely?
Which may explain why the code got misinterpreted or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, it seems like this was an oversight that it should have been reassembled better. But also, like, why this was in storage for 40 years is another exciting question.
Well,
I
no,
just
why
like
are we
that they put
storing
it together
rocks?
wrong.
it said it was
So why are we storing rocks?
in storage for a short time.
I've never seen this thing at Pearson before, and I've been flying out of Pearson for years. So
Okay.
a short time, I guess, is not years, but less than decades.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, not really real news. Just kind of funny that the people that the government agency that runs Pearson Airport managed to make scary warning signs out of rocks.
Yes. Violent death.
Violentist.
A place of violent death.
Yeah. Rocks they've been storing for several years.
It's
no
what they
reason.
need is they needed a nukshuk for that warns people of high beer prices.
Ooh.
And you may or may not
Yeah.
get felt up by security in this line.
There we go.
Good times. Gavin, I think you found this next one as well, the National Post.
Yes.
You want to tell everybody about this one?
Yeah, I guess kind of in the same line as this previous article. It has to do with Indigenous people once again. And it seems that the school board has decided to phase out the term chief, as in like chief superintendent or any sort of person that would be in charge of something that one would
Like a
generally
chief
refer to
financial
as chief.
officer. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
because apparently it's insensitive to the Indigenous people of Canada, which is a bit ridiculous because that word isn't their word. Like it's not like Inukshuk or something like that, and we've stolen it and used it. I mean, a chief is a person that's in charge of a tribe or a clan, of which many cultures have these things.
But it says like the origin is Latin, and it comes from like the term the caput, which means a head or leader, and then the French kind of changed it to chef, and so it's the kitchen boss, and that's where chief is supposedly come from. So
Pretty sure it's from the Latin for stealing from Indians. Pardon me, Indigenous Canadians.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
anyway,
nonsense. It's
yeah.
Did you say it was the
Nonsense,
Toronto School Board specifically that was doing this? I don't know if we. This is a
believe it, yeah.
Toronto problem, apparently.
Yeah.
That said, in an effort to remain ahead of the Ontario government's curve on all gender, cultural, political sensitivities.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is silly. There's no end in sight. If you could extrapolate the current behavior, this will continue. This will accelerate. Yes. Welcome to Clown World, Chief.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
could see if we started calling like any statue in Inukshuk, how people would maybe get annoyed that we've culturally appropriated that word, but like the word chief is not a native word. We haven't stolen anything. It's a descriptor. It's an English word describing a person in charge of a small group of people. That's all that means.
The slippery slope that I'm worried about here is I hadn't previously heard about the Ontario government's effort to start curbing misgendering and labeling of various institutions. The fact that the Toronto District School Board is trying to get out ahead of this is the part that kind of worries me. Is like, this is a sign of things to come from other aspects of our government. Awesome, can't wait.
But that was an article by Christy Blatchford, and the first article I read from her like a long time ago, like I thought she kind of came off as a leftist, a liberal. I don't know. Everyone says like, oh, there's Tim. Tim's the most liberal, but like I thought she was even more liberal than me. But then the more I read of her, like it's funny, she made a pretty good clip about the chief custodian or something like that came in, and then they blacked out the front of his sign where it said chief, and she said like it's like, oh, what will the people of color say when they're using the color black to censor the word?
Ooh, that's
yeah. I mean, can we even say that they blacked that out?
Yes.
I mean, that's being
well, you can't say they
culturally and
colored
racially.
it out.
I don't know if that's appropriate either. I mean, it's better to be too safe than sorry.
I've often thought we should have. We've talked about this, Gavin. We thought they should change the name of the 300 blackout to the 300 whiteout because
Oh, that's insensitive.
it quietly erases mistakes.
Yeah. But we might get sued by all those people that make corrective fluid.
That could be. We're not affiliated with those Patriot groups.
Oh dear. Let's go into the next one. We got a double header. Both from the CBC, mere days apart. Revenue Canada to tax employee discounts, but Ottawa said, oh, no, that's the right one. Revenue Canada to tax employee discounts, but Ottawa says it's not targeting retail workers. 2 million retail workers could face new taxes on merchandise purchased through an employee discount. So that's interesting because I thought we weren't taxing the middle class, and it seems to me that the middle class would largely be amongst the 2 million people that are filling retail jobs in Canada. But mere days later, Liberal government tells CRA to back off tax plan to Liberal government tells CRA to back off plan to tax employee discounts. Apparently, in the course of like 24 hours, the government has changed its position on this with the assertion that the CRA was being run by bureaucrats that weren't receiving enough government oversight. So apparently this was not a Liberal government plan, and it wasn't the Minister of Revenue that came up with this or approved the CRA's explanation to businesses of how they would like to see employee discounts taxed. This was totally bureaucrats at the CRA. So the Liberals are definitely not increasing taxes to the middle class.
No, but they are going to have to hire a bunch of people to oversee to make sure that this doesn't happen again, in which case they're going to need to increase taxes to pay the salaries of those people that are supposed to oversee that we don't need to raise taxes.
Well, that was part of the argument from the Retail Coalition, the Retail Council of Canada is the group that lobbies the government on behalf of retailers in this country, and they said that the proposed changes would produce a horrendous burden on employers and employees who would have to maintain reams of paperwork, because the way that the folio from the CRA was written would be that the employee discount, the difference between the retail price and the discounted price would be added onto the employee's T4 as a taxable benefit. So if the item was sold normally for $100 and you bought it as an employee with a 50% discount for $50, you would then be taxed on the 50% difference that you didn't pay. Like you still have to pay the sales tax on the 50% when you bought it, and then you have to pay the tax again on the other 50% on your T4.
Yeah,
Does
so
that
now you're
not
not
sound
just getting
like
taxed on
dipping?
things you buy. You're getting taxed on things that you don't spend money on.
Well, didn't you do that? You got taxed for the full amount of some LED light bulbs, even though they were at a...
Okay, yeah, minor digression. I don't want to go too far away from this nonsense, but yes.
Oh, it's very similar.
The Ontario government had a rebate program recently, 2 weeks ago in Ontario, for energy-efficient lighting. Anyone who watches our YouTube video can see that I have a bunch of overhead pot lights. They're terrible, but they came with the house. They burn out all the time. They're GU10s, and I don't think they were installed maybe the best possible way and or according to the manufacturer's directions. But
I know a guy who needs those fixed.
Yeah, I too know the pot light king of Mississauga. These GU10 halogen bulbs burn out frequently and with vigor. And when they do, they don't explode, but they sort of, the glass piece falls off, and because they're ceiling mounted, they fall on my desk or my wife or my dog or the carpet. And generally, I think it constitutes a fire hazard, and if nothing else, is incredibly annoying. So during the rebate, I decided I would go and use my in-store credit rebate and buy a bunch of energy-efficient LED light bulbs from Canadian Tire. Right? Normally, the LEDs are $2.50 or $3 a piece, something like this. And the GU10
Yeah.
halogen lights are like $1 a pop. So I just buy the cheap ones and pay more in electricity because I have to replace them every couple of months.
And you're warm.
Well, and I'm warm, and yeah, but whatever. It's fine. We just turn the air conditioner up. Get some more global warming. So I thought when they were on sale, normally it's a package of 2 is $5. They're on sale with a $4 rebate. So that makes them 50 cents a light bulb. I'm like, cool, 50 cents a light bulb. When I went to the till, they could only ring through 10 at a time, and I needed 11 boxes of 2 for how many lights that I was going to be ending up replacing. And they charged me more than 13% tax, and I was like, wait, what? If it's $5 and it has a $4 rebate, that means it's $1. 13% of $1 is 13 cents. The tax should be 13 cents. So the total should be $1.13, right? Like my math is sound so far. And it was like $1.83 or some nonsense. $1.63, whatever it was. They charged me tax on the entire retail value of the light bulbs, not the discounted value. And I kind of lost my mind on the internet and posted the thing with the receipt that I was being taxed on the tax incentive that I was receiving from my previously paid taxes. Because who pays for my light bulb discount if it's a green energy incentive to do this? If the government is giving the consumer a $4 discount.
I know this. It's Ralph Goodale.
It is not Ralph Goodale.
Oh.
That's my $4 from my taxes that I already paid into the system that are subsidizing the light bulbs that I bought, and they taxed me on the taxes I already paid. What
Yeah,
the
it sounds
shit?
like government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Matt's here. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. I guess I don't have to deal with like that much rear end unauthorized entry when it comes to our taxation as you do, but that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty atrocious.
What are you drinking tonight, Matt?
I am drinking Bush in the special fall hunting colors.
Love the Bush.
Yeah, man. I'm old school like that. You gotta take the Bush, man. Basically I'm down here still in the States. Wanted to drop in for a bit, show my love for the podcast, and maybe at some point just BS a little bit about a little bit of a hunting story I got. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see how this year's charity shoot goes. But I don't know if you guys, doesn't look like by the notes you guys have gotten into that yet, but.
No, we were just talking about government theft and taxation, one of your favorite topics.
Yeah.
If you're in your show notes and you want to refer to the 2 articles from the CBC, Revenue Canada to tax employee discounts, but Ottawa says it's not targeting retail workers. And the follow-up article the next day, where the Liberal government tells the CRA to back off on the plan to tax employee discounts. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the government...
Go. Sorry, Tim, go.
So basically, to recap, the Liberal government is inept, and they don't accept responsibility for their actions.
They don't accept responsibility for the actions of their employees.
Yeah, you're
because
right.
Remember, the Minister of Revenue is blaming the bureaucrats at the CRA. The people that are responsible to her and work for her and report to her, and she has to sign off on the things that they do.
Hey, I blame the bureaucrats too, though. But I generally include her in that whole thing.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Minister, what's this? I almost used her derogative term. What's this person's name? La Booth-Hillier? How long has she been an MP, I suppose? I bet she's been an MP for a long time with the Liberal Party.
Probably.
Let me just do some quick interning.
I bet she's married to somebody named Kermit.
Oh, she's such a boomer. No, her husband's name is Jacques.
That's pretty close.
It is pretty close. She's definitely Quebecois French. And
S'il vous plaît, un beer allemand. It's also kind of an inside joke for me, $1, but boomer.
Apparently, she's new at being a politician. She's only elected in 2015. That doesn't make a ton of sense.
Oh, is she one of these new? No. But she was put on the cabinet.
Yeah, she's a boomer.
Yeah, but is this one of the people Trudeau stuck on the cabinet to make everything fair because it's the current year?
Yeah, to balance the gender quotas.
Yeah.
And now she's
there we
saying,
go. Okay.
it wasn't me. The people.
None of them accept accountability. Like that never happens.
Yeah, the bureaucrats I'm in charge of did it, not
Not somebody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine if like this type of leaders, like if we had these type of leaders and politicians, like back in the days when like we were actually fighting like legit global warfare, where like, you know, tens of thousands of casualties a month, you know, like World War II, World War One, and even before that, like where these leaders and heads of state were such unaccountable, like just horrible people. I mean, the U.S. and Canada would not exist as nations. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I wonder if that excuse would have worked for Hitler. You know, it's not me; it's my underlings, or Stalin, or any of those dictators throughout history. Like, it wasn't me. I'm not the bad guy. It's the people under me. They're the ones to blame for all these bad things happening.
yeah, it's like I tried to tell them. I mean, I was like, hey,
Yeah, like if you're the one in charge, you're ultimately responsible for the people under you. And if you don't know what the people under you are doing, you are completely useless and inept, and you shouldn't be in that position. So either way,
Absolutely.
you're responsible.
Yep.
End of story.
That is exactly it.
Whatever happening to tarring and feathering like inept political leaders?
Oh Jesus! Have you priced tar up?
Oh, I wish. There's a carbon tax on that now.
Oh yeah, probably. It's
still
probably
worth it.
illegal because it's probably like against environmental laws and you know, like.
No, we have a liberal government, not a green government.
Oh well, there you go. They would probably just tax that. They'd probably add a tax to it, like
Could liberally tar and feather them.
they would add like a tax to it once you added the feathers, because that officially would make it like eligible for the political statement tax, and then you have to pay extra for it.
Is the poultry part of supply management? Because they'd want a piece too.
Probably.
Oh.
So they would get something. Dude, everybody gets a cut. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a racket, man. Everybody gets a cut. I mean, like any Americans listening to these guys, like I'm telling you, the level of taxation when you're up there, it requires like a code book to understand a receipt, like when you buy shit someplace. I'm not even making that up. Like
reaching levels of taxation that shouldn't even be possible.
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm like, and there's no connection. I don't understand, like, where you even have a connection to where that money's going. You know what I mean? Like, where's the oversight? And then
don't
who's
have enough people.
Clearly auditing the oversights, you know?
They need to hire people so that they can have more oversight. That's what they're saying.
So, yeah.
No, I don't think that's what they're saying. All right, let's do the next one. Another CBC article. More information coming to light about Finance Minister Bill Morneau. There was a bit of a misunderstanding with a disclosure that he made when he became finance minister. He mentioned that he had ownership of a French villa, you know, as most Canadians do. Neglected to mention was that he was also the partner of a French company that owned said villa. So in addition to his, I think we're up to 6 numbered companies in Canada now, as well as the, it's not an insurance company, assurance company that his family owns. He also has a named French company whose sole purpose is to provide ownership and management of a private villa in Provence. You know, the nice part of France.
Who's the other partner? Like his wife or something like that? So that,
yeah, his wife.
Yeah.
His wife is Nancy McCain, who's a member of the fabulously wealthy McCain family. You know, the French fry people?
Yeah. They spin potatoes into gold.
They are delicious, though.
I can't believe how outrageous everything I learn about Finance Minister Morneau is. We're not taxing the middle class, but we're going to jack up tax rates for people that are in a certain bracket that, by my definition, falls in the middle class.
Yeah, I'm just going to raise taxes on 81% of the middle class, but we're not raising taxes on the middle class.
No, because it's not all of them. So
I have 6 numbered companies. Right, that's the thing. Like, how many Canadians own numbered companies? And the Liberal government, which is, in this case, the tax laws are being ramrodded by Finance Minister Morneau. Small businesses are tax shelters, and farmers are cheats. But how many numbered companies does the average Canadian own? I bet it's not 6. How many Canadians own private villas in Provence? I bet it's not very many.
Well, this is it's one thing that if he's got money from whatever he's doing and he owns his own villa, awesome. But can you even really own a company that owns your house? That just seems shady as fuck right there.
It's super shady.
Why do you need a company to own your house to manage your house? Is he renting it out to anybody? Because at least then it would make sense that he's got a company that rents it out and generates income or whatever. But if he just stays there, why does a company own it? We're not talking about a family trust or anything like that. It's a company for no reason other than a tax shelter.
Well, yeah, but that's the reason, and this is
you shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, but with the new tax
government though,
with the new tax reforms they're trying to push in, they're making it so if you sell your family farm to a family member, they're going to pay double the tax that they would normally. Is that how it goes? But if you sold that farm to a corporation, this is the same guy, and this is exactly what they're saying. They're saying the big problem. Cullen,
so what you're saying is if he sold his family villa to a family member, he'd have to pay more tax on it. But if it's a company that owns it, that sells it to say the company that his son owns, then he's going to get a better tax rate.
Well, if you let's say you have 200-acre farm somewhere in Ontario, or and you sell that to your family member, the tax on that inheritance is going to be doubled under this new plan. But if you sell that to a corporation, from what I saw, what they were talking about in the House was, as far as I believe, then if you sell it to a corporation, then you aren't taxed on it. And when this guy is married to a McCain, who is the French fry barons of Canada, and these people they create the factory farm, the corporate farm. They buy up the little farmers, the good, honest, hardworking family farms, for these big conglomerates. And that's exactly what they were saying. Is new Democrat ethics commissioner or critic Nathan Cullen said that he said, this is a big problem for me, and I think it's going to be a problem for a lot of Canadians. He said, Morneau seems to have something set up which makes it easier for him to pass on his wealth to his kids, where they are proposing tax changes which would make it harder for farmers to do the same thing. So this guy knows the whole damn rule book. He has people he can afford because so basically, but there's people that he's paying, his financial advisors are probably advising him on legislature to pass that will benefit him and hurt Canadian citizens.
Yeah. I know.
And this guy, this is 2 years he's been the finance minister, and we just finding out now by accident, he forgot to mention that it's a corporation or a holding corporation, that owns this villa.
Oops.
And he kind of goes, whoops.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I don't understand that level of
I can't.
brazen.
It's total government bureaucracy. These are the rules for the people that run things, and not the rules for the peasant. Also, where's our 50% of your income? Because we need those tax dollars. Somebody's got to afford to pay for those villas.
Yeah, but
before we go any further, I want to go back to something that Tim brought up, because Tim made a nice little segue that we just walked right by. I had another item further down in the deck from MP Pierre Polivar, and he's got a video up on his Facebook about the unfair tax changes that will turn our farmers into tenants for foreign landlords. And I cut out the good bits of the audio, but there's a link to the full Facebook video with all the text in our show notes.
A lot of people will be hurt. Farmers will be hurt because they'll pay double tax trying to sell their farm to the next generation. No tax will be paid when that farm is sold to a giant corporate conglomerate like, say, McCain.
What they're effectively doing is making it so you pay double tax when you're transitioning a family business.
How far should we be willing to go as a society to say, even if it's not going to be the most efficient way to produce agricultural output, we're going to subsidize keeping the farm in a smaller size in a family unit.
Do you think the family farm is obsolete?
Well, I don't know whether the family farm still exists in most cases. You may fly over a parcel of land and it looks like one farm, but it's a variety of legal structures and parcels spread all over. I don't know whether the family farm still exists in most cases.
Okay, so like the whole video is like 4 or 5 minutes long, and I cut out the good bit of the audio, but there's a bunch more text. The first two voices you hear are conservative MPs during question period, and then the third and fourth voice you hear is a reporter and a gentleman by the name of Michael Wolfson. Michael Wolfson is not a politician. He's a member of a think tank that writes policy ideas for the Liberal Party. But he's not elected. He doesn't hold an office. But if you look at what he's written and you look at the Liberal platform, you'll see massive overlaps because he is consulted by the Liberal Party, consults him frequently on issues, including this one. He's the guy that thinks that the small farm doesn't exist anymore. He's the one that thinks that, well, you may look at it, and it looks like a farm. It's not really a farm because there are various private companies that are set up to shelter the owners, which sounds remarkably like someone else we just spoke about.
I was going to say projection much.
Right? The small farmers are setting up private corporations to hide their wealth. Almost like someone with a villa in the south of France.
What was the name of that advisor again?
Michael C. Wolfson. Wolfson.
What does the C stand for? I have an idea, but
I've got a couple ideas.
I'm not entirely sure.
Oh my God. Michael C. Wolfson. Okay, this guy made $211,195 in 2016.
As working at a think tank?
University of Ottawa think tank.
Yeah, he's some kind of a consultant. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know what this guy is? So let's say.
Oh my God.
211.
A communist?
Well,
Is that what this C stands for?
This is really aggravating to me because, like, you guys know, like, I'm more rural up here. Like, I went to school. Like 5 of my good friends' parents were beef farmers, and these guys, they worked hard, like every goddamn day, to do this shit. And when the beef prices go down, they suffer. And to say this, to have this asshole who makes, holy shit, $17,599 a month, and you know what he is basically. He's
a Peter Puffer.
Communist?
He's an enabler, because what they do is, like, assholes like Trudeau who want to feel good about themselves can pay this guy, and this guy can tell them a convenient lie, and then they can feel good about their decision, because this asshole's up there saying, I don't think the family farm exists as you think it is. You may fly over a farm and say, that's a family farm, but like I am up here, like up in the peninsula area, like Bruce and Grey County, and there are family farms up here. And the fact, like, that these assholes are taking this much tax money so they can say, when you sell your farm onto your son, the taxes are going to be doubled thanks to our new legislature. That's disgusting. Yeah. And there was a there was a methodology for dealing with this stuff, but about 100 years ago. And it was probably armed revolt.
I'd be okay if we had a little bit more of that. So I think we're getting to that point.
Yeah,
so let's reconvene at Montgomery's Tavern.
Well, the border won't mean anything when that starts going down, because I guarantee you, gentlemen, if lead's getting slung, I'll be shoulder to shoulder with my Canadian brothers.
Sweet. We may need you to smuggle us up some full capacity magazines.
Oh, I could do that for show.
And some
maybe some bump stocks.
Allegedly.
Some cheap
Allegedly.
scopes.
Maybe some bump stocks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, those are definitely prohibited up here, but maybe.
Are they actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bump stocks are a prohibited item under something.
Are they?
It's not the
considered
Firearms
like,
Act. It's like a
full auto
it's an
modification.
RC firearms ruling. Yeah, because it mimics full auto, so they made it a prohibited item.
Yeah. If Andrew gets any faster with his trigger finger, they're actually going to prohibit his trigger finger. I hear.
Jerry fucking Mikulik, man.
Dude, what about binary triggers?
No go up here.
Crazy. I mean, it's a piece of...
our gun laws are messed up.
Yeah, our gun laws are messed up. Polytechnique, the guy goes in with a Mini 14 and shoots a bunch of people, and they ban a shitload of guns, but they don't even restrict them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering when they're going to start banning like
SKSs.
Oh, they're on it.
I don't want to talk about SKSs. We're not doing that.
You don't want to buy a crate of SKSs?
Okay, I'll buy a crate of SKSs, but we're not talking about SKS news this week because the SKS thing is stupid, and I don't want to give it any airtime. What do we got next in the deck?
Sounds like you're still butthurt about it.
A lot to be butthurt about.
I am a little butthurt about it. Oh, I had one more comment for the Morneau thing that we were talking about. Agreeing with the NDP for the wrong reasons. There's an NDP MP by the name of Nathan Cullen who says that the ethics commissioner, Mary Dawson, should make an example of Morneau for failing to declare his private corporation in France. I'm on board with something that an NDP MP said. So, for our American listeners, the NDP is our leftmost party. They are actually socialists. Like, they are actual socialists. They're the smallest of our three main parties in Canada, and they have essentially no control over anything yet, except for the province of Alberta. But
yeah,
that was that was just retribution for bad decisions made by a previous conservative government.
Yeah, that's working out. That's working out fine for them too, by the way.
They're definitely not going to win the next election in Alberta. But the only problem that I have with Mr. Cullen's idea is that the ethics commissioner may only fine someone up to $500 per violation.
Oh my!
And they don't exercise that power very often.
Why even have it?
They've done it like 6 times in the past year. I know it's very disappointing.
If that's all it is, then why is Trudeau like dragging his feet going to talk to the guy? Like, if all it is $500, he should just show up with $500 in hand and just go, "Here you go."
Because that guy's all about appearance. He's more about appearance than anything.
Yeah, he is. He's not gonna do it unless he can make it look like he's somehow like promoting some minority group, you know, whether that's sticking his tongue out in front of a rainbow flag or wearing like a hijab, eating like whatever poopy styrofoam plate meal he can in the middle of like a mosque. Like, unless you can get some sort of photo op like that, it's not going to happen.
But the thing is, like, what we need to do is we need to stop the salary of the ethics commissioner and make them earn their wage in fines.
Yeah. Oh, we should do that for every politician.
Yeah.
No, I like this path you're on here, Tim. Like, they only get paid if they fine people, but it has to be a legitimate fine. You can't just go around making it up.
I don't care.
But
performance bonuses, give them targeted goals.
Yeah.
Well, like
just make it like private industry.
Yeah, but we have Ontario.
Or like quota
Ministry of
system
Labor
like the cops.
inspectors. Yeah, there are Ministry of Labor inspectors that walk around just to, like, job sites, and just if you spot a guy doing a roof without a fall harness on, then like he gets a $200 fine, his supervisor gets a $300 fine, and I think the company gets like a $500 fine. Like there's this,
This goes back to what I said earlier, though. There's a set of rules for the commoners, the proletariat, if you will. And there's a set of rules for the ruling class, and the ethics commissioner is part of that class.
All right, is this ethics commissioner, is he investigating the quote unquote politicians and the ruling class?
He's supposed to be.
That is the ethics commissioner's job, but they are not investigating Morneau, and there are no plans to press a fine against him at this point in time.
You guys need to make a I don't know what process it is, but to add something to your charter or whatever you call it, like your principal governing document. But the ethics commissioner, and we should do this in the States too. Fuck it, like the ethics commissioner should be like the most revolutionary anti-government person in the country. And they should get paid based on the number of like politicians' heads that are on stakes, like outside of like the Capitol building grounds. Like, that's how they should
how do I apply for that job?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like I'd be glad up in that shit.
But you know what we need up here?
Instead of a $500 fine, every time I catch a politician lying in the house, I should just get to like slap them across like backhand.
You should get a paddle. You should get a paddle engraved with like some Latin quote
mace
about
that the sergeant at arms has. Every time somebody does something out of turn in Parliament, I get to use the sergeant at arms' mace to like christen them over the head with the stupid mace.
Or you can
every time you do something dumb,
like on the mace, you can put runes that translate to like the hammer of ethos or something, and like you just hit hit him in the skull with it.
We need someone
so
up here
on board with this.
We need someone up here like Jason Shavitz, who was
Trey Gowdy would be a good choice.
Yeah,
he probably hates Canada, like the government at least. Like Trey Gowdy is
who doesn't hate our government.
Well, yeah, but like I don't know. I mean,
all right,
yeah. Anyway,
another one. We've got a piece of non-Canadian news that this is going to be another twofer. We got a lot of linked articles in this episode. The first one is
right? No fake news. We don't
I don't know. It's from Breitbart, so hard to say.
Breitbart, it's pretty good, but it's definitely agenda driven. But
yeah,
if you want to get your like self, affirming like cummies, like reading some news, and you're like a conservative, that's the way to go. But anyway.
Well, I need something to balance out like the 4 CBC articles, so we're giving them one Breitbart article.
I'm surprised
that balances out, right?
I'm surprised Breitbart's not banned in Canada. Like that seems like it would be considered.
We'll get to that
like
in a
subversive
minute,
propaganda.
Oh yeah, that's the next story. Quit reading ahead.
Bear that in mind in one.
It's a segue.
It is a good segue.
Yeah, but save it for the end of this story.
All right.
So
what's up
from
with Breitbart
London? British police arrest at least 3,395 people for offensive online comments in 1 year.
3,000?
So, 3,400 people rounding up. 3,400 people in the current year have been arrested under the 2003 Communications Act in Britain. This act makes it illegal to intentionally cause annoyance, inconvenience, or needless anxiety to another.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
That sounds like a big
law. God.
That's an average. That's 9.3 people a day hauled away to the Ministry of Truth or Love, the Ministry of Love.
Exactly. The Ministry of Love is right. They are not getting any lubrication for that love. For online trolling, for online commentary, for making comments that someone found offensive and reported to the police because they were offended by someone on the internet. Just let that sink in. You were offended on the internet, you called the police, and 3,400 people were arrested as a result.
Job well done.
That's not
good work, citizen.
The police have increased the number of officers that are involved in the there's a name for this group. I can't find it now.
Is it the Fields Brigade? It's the Fields Brigade.
Yeah,
So they've got a bunch of police that
McPhee
monitor
in charge.
and respond to reports of online harassment, annoyance, and inconvenience, and then arrest people. But they're only arresting certain people.
Oh,
Would anyone like to guess who they're not arresting, despite obvious hate crimes and reports to British police services over violations of the 2003 Communications Act?
Who they're
They're probably not arresting anybody with a name like O'Malley or Sullivan or O'Rourke. You know, none of those good old types of people. I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
You could be a little bit wrong. So there was an individual who went on Channel 4, which is a BBC like mainstream channel in the UK.
Every time you say BBC,
Matt spits in his hand.
This person definitely is not in possession of the BBC. They were just a commentator on a BBC show. The racist trans model, the racist trans model, Monroe Bergdorf, decided to, after doing an interview on the BBC's Channel 4, calling white people the most violent and oppressive force of nature on Earth.
That's a hell of a title.
I want that on my door.
That's a T-shirt, man.
That is that, and it'll be a real quote. That's what's amazing about it.
Is the most violent and oppressive force of nature on Earth, according to the racist biracial transgendered model.
Okay. So there's somebody with a serious psychosis that is pontificating on some sort of nationally broadcasted media outlet,
and then online following this interview.
Yeah, basically advocating for complete and utter racist tropes, and yet he's probably now has like a multiple $1 million pundit deal with different news channels. He probably has like statues in his name. He probably has honorary degrees and doctorates for his amazing work in social justice.
Well, you know what else they got? Thousands of complaints filed to the Metropolitan Police of London, whose official statement was, and I'm paraphrasing here, meh. They did nothing, despite other people being arrested for making much less divisive comments.
You know what? Quick interjection here as an American, especially in a place where we still say come and take it and mean it. Like this type of shit, like this, like people literally getting like rounded up for speech, like for literally words, right? Like everybody says, oh, it can't happen. You know, we don't need, all the anti-gun people say we don't need guns or whatever. But guess what? If they try to do that in this country and round people up for speech, people are going to start getting shot.
Oh, somebody's getting shot.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting shot. 100%.
It's happening. And this is in like a first world country where this law has been on the books for almost 2 decades, or at least a decade and a half. It's like it's real. These aren't fictitious abstract concerns of why we need to hold tight to our guns. Like, hello people, case in point right here. If you don't have the freedom to say whatever you want, then you are literally a subject and you deserve, whatever slave impoundment you're going to get. And I bet you know what? This probably explains all the welcoming of refugees. They probably have like a secret auction block for all these refugees, especially from places like Africa. And they take all the Mandingo, the giant BBC guys from Africa, who whichever ones they are, and they probably put them in the Ministry of Love so that all these free speech people can get like the railing, from like the Mandingo tribal cock and basically get their anus destroyed for punishment for freedom, for trying to speak out and say what's on their mind. You know what I'm saying? That's probably actually the secret behind the whole welcoming of all these refugees. It's a way to create an influx of you know, like just like dicks to destroy people. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the whole free speech thing, like, I think there's a lot of people that are anti-free speech because it's hate speech and this and that and everything else. And I think they forget that, like, just because you can say what you want to say doesn't mean that you're free of social consequences. Like, you're free of legal consequences, but like, people are free to disagree with you, call you an asshole, say
ostracize
equally
you,
retarded, like, but opposite end of the spectrum things and everything. And yeah, like, not allow you to be part of their social group or their, you know, whatever.
not patronize
like,
your business, you know.
Exactly. There are still consequences to your actions, but you're just free of legal consequences for getting up and saying whatever stupid, ignorant nonsense you want to say, whatever it is.
So the Ministry of Love shouldn't be tracking you down for making your thought crimes? Is that overstepping by the government?
The Ministry of Love should just,
I would say so.
I wish I was an architect, because I would offer a proposal for their building, and it would be a giant veiny penis.
Speaking of giant veiny penises.
Well, and every time they arrested somebody for like a speech crime,
are we talking about the UN?
Well, I was going to say every time they arrest somebody for a speech crime, the giant veiny penis would just like shoot some sort of like large chunky substance out of the top of it, all over
Very
London.
zinc-laden.
Oh yeah, London would be covered in love juice. Anyway.
All right, last one. This isn't coming from a news organization. But
I got
this is actually
from.
It's all good. We've got from the Privacy News Online, which is actually the blog for private internet access, which is a personal VPN, or a virtual private network connection, which essentially allows you to browse the internet anonymously. I'm a subscriber of their service, and I use a personal VPN all the freaking time, because I don't think that people need to be able to intercept my communication without doing a lot of work. Because if they want to see me looking at pictures of cat pics on Tumblr, they should have to work for it.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
The private internet access people on the Privacy News Online blog, it's something that I have not found in any of the mainstream media, but was corroborated by a statement by a vice president at Bell Media, Rob Malcolmson, who's Bell's senior VP of Regulatory Affairs. So apparently this was in a statement to politicians, so I can only assume this was made in the House or at Parliament somehow, and the mainstream media was just entirely absent that day.
Maybe it was one of those special cocktail parties where you have to pay like $10,000 to attend.
A
entirely
bundling
possible
situation for fundraising for other liberals.
So here's how this goes. Bell Canada, one of Canada's major internet service providers, is requesting the Canadian government create government censorship regime blacklisting resources that Canadians shall not be reading. According to Bell Canada, this is necessary to prevent people from leaving regulated television and turning to privacy instead. It is not explained how leaving regulated television system or forcing new services onto the market by turning to unlicensed distribution is a bad thing in of itself. The VP of Regulatory Affairs. People are actually leaving regulated TV system not just because they want to watch Netflix, but because they want to watch free content.
Yeah.
So why does Bell Canada want the government of Canada to blacklist certain parts of the internet?
Because they don't want you getting free TV, because they also sell TV.
Yeah. They want government regulations.
Conflict of interest much?
Yes. And keep in mind, like a lot of these people are going to, like, away from paying for that cable because of regulations brought on by the CRTC. That's my argument.
Yeah.
It's like there's a hell of a lot of countries in the world. I think Canada's one of the few civilized countries in the world that, like, you can't just go buy HBO Go and watch Game of Thrones. You have to have a cable package to watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, dude. Holy fuck. It's called Game of Thrones,
No.
man.
Just let him do the bit.
But I'm just saying, like we're taxed, so the government can create this the CRTC, the Canadian Radio and Telephone Community, like whatever the fuck the C stands for. I'll Google it, but it's really gonna interrupt my speech. But anyway, we're taxed. The government has the CRTC, and it's just like they create these hurdles, basically to try to help Canadian companies get by. It's all just legalized theft.
Yeah, it's legalized theft, but I think also real quick I wanted to say too, as businesses, the consumer loses out because the state and corporatism is the last bastion of companies that can't keep up with the market and cannot innovate. It destroys innovation. You know what I mean? We have all this technology for like streaming services. We have such high speed internet, and like these companies, whether they're utilities or like cable providers, etc., whatever, content providers, they can't keep up with innovation through either lack of creativity or just laziness. And so they use the state and corporatism to basically keep themselves in business. It's so counterproductive, and it's so unfair to the consumers when there's so much more out there that we could be utilizing, so much more advancement in technology and content and just exciting things that we could do, and we can't because of the status corporatism. You know, like
Exactly right. Yeah.
all of you lose out as individuals, like all of us do when they do that.
It's the CRTC, it's the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission, and like I said, like they set all these guidelines in, so it's because of their regulations that are paid for, like that are funded by our tax dollars, that we have to pay for a cable subscription to be able to watch shows. You can't just go on HBO. Like in many other countries in Western civilization, you can just go to HBO and get like a small subscription and watch anything on HBO online. But like here, you have to get a basic cable package, and then with that information, you can get HBO Go. And then what happens is people go, nah, like screw that, and then they go and they turn to like illegal things, and then Bell Canada, who is being they're getting screwed over because of the CRTC, even though the CRTC helped them for a long time. Like they're still like they're not happy enough with the money they're getting. So now they're going to the government and saying, hey, you got to shut down these sites because.
Well, okay, so here, bigger issue than that, because you're not wrong, but you're getting very artisanal television watching stuff. There's a larger censorship issue taking place. Bell Canada is a television service provider as well as an internet service provider, which is a conflict of interest because the internet service provider should not be regulated in any way, shape, or form by any government entity, CRTC or otherwise, because what information is available for consumers shouldn't be regulated through a government agency. Bigger than that, Bell is doing this specifically to stop people from accessing television through alternative means. But it's not just television that they're trying to censor. They want to blacklist all sorts of resources that they feel Canadians shouldn't have access to. Not just HBO.
Oh yeah, I know.
Anything that they deem but that's the bigger issue in my mind. This is another step in 1984.
Yeah,
you will watch what the party tells you you're allowed to watch, and Bell thinks that they're part of the party.
Yeah, that was my first concern when reading the article. But from reading the article, from what I get, Bell Canada's only concern is the money that they can get from the networks. It's the money lost to piracy. That's all they're concerned about, allegedly in this article. But like, the free speech and the freedom of whatever, like we should be able to do whatever the hell we want. As long as it doesn't harm another person,
But here's the thing: they're not talking about like blacklisting like child porn sites or things like that for like truly heinous, inappropriate content. They just don't want you to stream TV. So it's like it's so obvious what they're after. Like they're not trying to protect anybody other than their own financial interests.
Yep. Which are getting hurt by the CRTC.
Anyway. Yeah.
They just want more government interference in your life, so that you're forced to, go back to Bell and pay for the services that they want to offer the way they want to offer them. So they just want more government regulations, and they'd be stupid not to. But the fact that they have a good chance that they'll get it is disgusting. And this reminds me of another story. When people there was a story going around, like when people were pirating and going off stuff. Someone got a letter from their ISP saying, "Hey, there's this company is sending this letter out saying that you've downloaded a certain, as basically they sent it out to all of their internet subscribers, and they said there's this company asking us to turn over like IP numbers of people who might have downloaded content on from torrent sites." And they said, and we're not going to do this. And then basically this one around Facebook, and someone said, "Oh, I'm with Bell, and I got no such letter from Bell." So
yeah. Okay. So there's a group of I guess, without being super autistic. So start cutting me off when this gets lame, because the information technology thing is my sphere of knowledge. Like this is what I do professionally.
Stop.
A number of independent ISPs don't keep logs or won't turn over logs without a court order to groups of lawyers who specialize in intellectual property right law and copyright infringement. So these are lawyers that will sue people for allegedly downloading content from the internet illegally. So, for example, the Pirate Bay and torrenting a copy of Game of Thrones. You may receive a letter from a lawyer saying you can pay us and we'll settle out of court and it'll cost you $1,000 and don't ever do this again or we'll take you to court. Oh, and you have to sign an NDA when you do this. Or we can take you to court and we'll sue you over this because you stole our intellectual property, or you stole our client's intellectual property, and they're doing this on behalf of HBO or some other studio. So this happens when movies go out and get released. So ISPs like TechSavvy and other small independent ISPs will either not keep logs of IP addresses of their users and customers, or they will refuse to turn this information over without a court order naming a specific customer, because these are essentially fishing expeditions. The lawyer will just email an ISP and say, "We want all of your data. Give us all of your customers, and we're going to send them all this letter." And sometimes that gets passed on from the various ISPs, and sometimes it doesn't. With things like virtual private network access, like the private internet access company that we cited where the article that we're talking about came from, you can essentially access the internet relatively anonymously so that you can't be tracked by these third parties, because your internet access is no longer tied to your internet address of your modem that you're paying your ISP to use. It's being channeled through a third party server elsewhere on the internet. Goes past that server. So there's nowhere to send the letter to. There is no ISP to forward it on to the consumer. Too nerdy?
Yes. No, it's good.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I think the people need to be concerned about is, I don't know what kind of infrastructure you have up there, but like here in the States, I mean, people, whether you use a VPN or, a lot of people, at least within the past couple of years, whether it's utilizing the Tor network and building your own machine, I think people need to be careful too, because eventually, and I wouldn't say the content providers, whether that's HBO or whoever the hell, would necessarily use this for that kind of thing. But when you start getting into political information, political speech, political kind of stuff, you got to look at the hardware and the backdoors in the hardware too. I mean, at some point, you got to wonder what's going on there.
Look at Britain.
Yeah.
You don't want to be one of those 3,400 people.
Well, right. And that's my, I mean, I'm easy to find on the internet by looking for my name, but my internet traffic leaving my house is not easy to find, because I don't think that somebody should be able to just man in the middle me and get whatever traffic's coming to my house. So I believe in things like the Tor network and personal VPNs, because third parties shouldn't just be able to collect all of my data.
I mean, I
Right,
absolutely agree.
For whatever purpose that they're using it for. So go out and get yourselves a VPN, kids.
Can you recommend a VPN?
Private internet access if you're a Canadian.
Internet access. Okay.
I want to say it's like $50 a year. It works on a bunch of devices. I think there's an upper band. We have it on our phones. We have it on all the computers in the house.
That's quite reasonable.
Yeah, it's a small price to pay in my mind.
Yeah.
Tor is free, but Tor is not entirely anonymous because the Tor nodes, somebody has to be a Tor node in order for your stuff to get out of the Tor network and back into the regular internet. So what you're doing is I'm sending my traffic to Tim's house and Tim's sending his traffic to my house. So we can't be tied back directly to our own stuff going out of our modems, but everybody else that's on the Tor network could be going out of yours. So there's other stuff with the Tor network that is kind of concerning because it's anonymous, but it's still not.
So it's going to look like I'm watching Tim's porn and Tim's watching my porn.
That's my concern with the Tor network is whoever owns the endpoint looks like they're generating all the traffic, regardless of whose traffic it is that's being routed through that endpoint. But Tor plus private internet access or some other VPN of your choice, plus secure web browsing, make sure that you use HTTPS and SSL because that's important. Because otherwise everything gets sent in plain text and you don't want that. So make sure that you use the secure option when you're browsing the internet. So that's HTTPS followed by whatever website you're going to. Do a whole show on data security because this is a whole big scary topic. But basically, kids, don't be silly. Wrap your internet willy.
One last thing I want to talk about because this is all like HBO. This is all copyright shit going HBO through Bell to the government to bitch about this shit. And this is my major bitch as a Canadian. You know, first of all, I can't just subscribe to HBO and watch goddamn Game of Thrones. You know, I have to have a cable package, and then I still have to subscribe to HBO to watch Game of Thrones. But the thing is, here's the thing: what does an HBO subscription cost in like Mexico?
Probably peanuts.
Yeah. What does a Blu-ray set cost in Vietnam or something like that?
So HBO now, the on-demand HBO streaming service that's available in many countries is $15 US per month. Roughly
Totally
the same
worth
price as a Netflix.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah, but you would have to pay like $40 or $50 for a cable package on top of that just to watch one.
Yeah, plus your box rental, plus your this rental. Yeah. And then they've got to package it with 12 other things that you don't want.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, are people in China buying Game of Thrones for like? Oh, sorry, Game of Thrones for like? Are they for like $3 Canadian?
Probably.
Oh, well, like legally, you'd be buying it for $15 US a month, regardless of where you are. You just can't do that in Canada.
No, I bet you they pay far less. There's no way that people in Vietnam are going and dropping like $32 on a Blu-ray when it comes out. US.
Yeah, well, that's different than buying like the HBO Go subscription, though, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure you're right.
I'm saying North America is such a profit center for the entertainment industry, and why do I have to pay more just because I come from a prosperous country than someone who comes from a less prosperous country? And then they come after us, and when you get woke to that shit, it's just kind of more frustrating.
Yeah,
that's fair. What was the other thing I was going to say? I was going to say something else.
Taxation is theft?
Taxation is theft, and we should probably do a show on data security at some point. I was going to say something about TV. Oh, I was going to tell you my anecdote about TV. I don't have TV. I don't believe in TV. Well, sort of. I still consume some television media, but I have not paid for a cable subscription since about 2011, and I could not be happier for it because I don't miss it for the couple of hours of TV we watch a week, mostly on Netflix, which is actually mostly Netflix original programming, not even stuff that's available on other cable platforms anyway.
Yeah.
We don't have a TV. We don't watch TV. We watch a couple hours of TV a week. on average, shows for Netflix, whatever. But I don't miss not having
what we
TV.
do. Yeah, TV is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. When my daughter's now 11. When she was about like 6 months old, we just said, that's from what I know about marketing, from introduction to marketing and stuff like that, and other stuff I've seen. Like I said, we got to cut this. I don't want my kid watching McDonald's commercials like when they're like 2 or 3. And then it was hilarious. Another story, like she got to be about 3, and there were these like little games for like young girls and stuff. You put them on the internet, and like there's like pet hospital, and you like bandage the puppy and stuff like that when it's hurt. But ads would pop out like targeted at the mothers because they assume the mother would be there with, and it's hilarious. So here's like our daughter, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, we bypassed the marketing machine. And my wife is vacuuming one day, and my daughter turns to her and she goes, Mom, when you're vacuuming, you're not getting the deep down gunk. You're just getting the stuff on the surface. And you need
you soak in what's on the idiot box, man. Like, programming for a reason.
Yeah. So she's still got some commercials online. It was hilarious. Foiled again.
Well, never mind. I'm not going to go there on your show.
There you go.
Marketing
is right. All right, let's
what?
Let's do rapid fire
Sorry,
feedback.
let me turn my music off. Anyway.
It's a ringtone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got rapid fire feedback. We're going to talk more guns. We've got a message from Eileen. I got a message from Eileen today. She was asking about trigger upgrades as a new shooter. She's got a Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm pistol. She's considering putting an Apex trigger in it. What do you guys think?
Apex spring kit.
Interesting choice,
Minimum.
Tim.
I've seen
Minimum.
There's you can do an Apex trigger, and if Tyler's there, then I think Eileen will be there at the Buck Cancer Charity Shoot on Saturday. And if Tyler's there with his 45 M&P, she should try his trigger out.
Well, good news. Eileen will be there and will try it. And I did mention that Tyler was the person that I knew that had the Apex trigger kit in his M&P and liked it.
Yeah, he also did another member of our pistol group at our local club that does a defensive pistol, and he just did it on the bench at the shooting range and put the parts in. I think it was a spring kit. It makes a huge difference. They should come like that from the factory.
Yeah, I seem to recall hearing that the factory trigger is absolute garbage, and that you have.
Yeah,
to do
my
something.
opinion of the M&P is that the trigger in it is not good. But for $275, I don't know if it's worth it as a new shooter. I think because the other option that I was playing with was it's $275. Just buy 1,000 rounds worth of ammo and shoot some more.
Yeah, I would counter argue that just for this, because practice makes permanent. And why build in a training scar with a shitty trigger? I think get that shit corrected, and then practice.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I mean, so I don't have an M&P. I have shot M&Ps, and I find the M&P trigger is pretty terrible. Go ahead, Tim.
But my main point is here, right off the bat, if you have a Smith & Wesson range kit, very good work. You've got a hell of a value right there. But it should have been a little bit more money, and the trigger should have been good. It wasn't. Get either an Apex spring kit or an Apex trigger, and right off the bat, and just do it, and then everything's fine from then on. You can upgrade your sights if you want to, but everything else is, that gun should be good for like tens of thousands of rounds.
Okay, so just Tim, your vote, $275. Get the kit. It's worth it.
I don't know if it's because I've like shot Tyler's. I've shot Numbers gun at the range. Like he has a Smith & Wesson M&P in 9, and Tyler has his in 45, and I've shot them before and after, and they're go from terrible to very good. And to me, I think it's well worth it. I'm not sure if it's $275 because I don't know if my friend Rick's was done with just a spring kit or had an Apex trigger in it. So I don't know if you have to go full Apex trigger. I think you can just go spring kit.
Okay, I wonder if a spring kit might be a better option in this case, then, because I have shot a stock M&P and I find it to be very lacking in the trigger department, but I find most striker fired pistols to be my Glocks, for example, because I shoot Glocks as my 9mm striker fireds, and I went with a Zev trigger, which is like the same thing but for a Glock, different company, different, but like same thing, aftermarket trigger to make it better. I don't think that I want to say I spent about $250 on my Zev Ultimate Trigger Kit. Might have been $250 US. It was not like, it does not make the gun $250 better. It did not make my $700 Glock shoot like $1,000 Glock. It made it shoot like a slightly better Glock, like slightly better. So I don't feel that the return on investment is there. But my thing is, I'm shooting against other people with stock Glocks, and they are also good shooters, so that 10 or 15% improvement might give me a competitive edge. I'm not sure that it's worth the money, but I like winning, so it's one more thing to take away, because you're right, get rid of the lousy trigger, take it out of the equation, and then you don't have to worry about it, which I agree with. Yeah. I just think that it may not have the return on investment. Especially considering a new shoot.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I get what you're saying with no return on the investment, but like, if your option is a shitty trigger or a good trigger, there is no middle ground. That's the problem, unless maybe a spring kit works.
But I think like at least the Smith & Wesson is like a $550. Like last I saw, like are they still down around $550 for a range kit?
Sure.
Okay, at least it's a $550, and then you can get it up to like $700 or $750 with a spring kit or a trigger, and then you're around the level for an entry level Glock, but you have a pretty good trigger.
Okay, so I did some really quick interning. The Smith & Wesson M&P 9 range kit, 9mm, 4¼ inch barrel is currently going for about $700.
Ooh, thanks, Trudeau.
And the spring kit is currently going for about $20 US.
Yeah, so maybe go for the spring kit first. See how that does. If that doesn't work, then get a trigger.
Well, what's the trigger kit? US dollars. This is not good interning. I apologize.
I'm waiting. There's a guy responding to me on Facebook right now about what he did to his M&P. So.
In the meantime, what would you like to do to your MPs?
I would like to also replace them with a trigger kit.
They certainly trigger me.
Apex competition trigger kit, $100 US.
It's not bad.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, this guy did the Apex
with the sear and everything else is 200. Okay, so 250.
Yeah,
go ahead, Tim.
This guy did Apex competition enhancement kit, including Apex sear and all new springs. So it wasn't just a spring kit. So.
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of options looking through the Apex catalog with a spring kit that starts at $20 and goes up to like $100. And then there's like various trigger kits that go from like $150 to $200 US. So I guess a $20 spring kit certainly doesn't hurt. I mean, I've done that with a couple of handguns, and spring kits, I mean, it's a cheap option to try. But
could you then
do drop the money, I guess. Well, it looks like you could do everything individually through the Apex catalog. I just don't know how easy it is to get north of the Snow Mexican wall.
Yeah. The thing is, like I shoot, like I have shot this gun, and it's this for a striker fire. It's hard to tell. It's very clean, and it just, to me, like I shoot double action, single action 226, like P226, and it's just like. It's lighter than the double action pull, maybe a little bit heavier than the single action pull, but it's still very clean and crisp. And I kind of think it would be around like 6 to 8 pounds. which seems heavy. Like it's hard for me to judge because I'm assuming my double action pull is around 12 pounds. But
okay, well, maybe follow up at the charity shoot. Why don't I bring my trigger scale? You bring your gun, and we'll meet Eileen there and figure out the trigger weight.
okay, and Tyler, I bet Tyler will have his MMP there in 45.
There we go. So we've decided that we have no good answer. A spring kit or a trigger will make it better, and we have no idea if it's a good choice.
I'm saying an MMP without an MMP without a trigger kit is a compromised gun. An MMP with a trigger kit is good to go. You do not have to upgrade anything else for any of the shooting disciplines, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
All right.
All right. I don't imagine that helped any, but that's okay. Tim, why don't you tell us about the Fuck Cancer charity shoot?
The Fuck Cancer charity shoot is going to be held this Saturday, October 21st, at the Golf Rod and Gun Club. The beneficiary is a good friend of mine, Scott H., who had developed stage 3 medullary thyroid cancer. It's a rare cancer. There's 180 cases in Canada per year. He had his thyroid and 76 lymph nodes removed and 2 parathyroids. The tumor went 3/4 of the way around his neck. After the surgery, he was given 35 radiation treatments, and he lost 1/3 of the range of motion of his head and neck, and radiation treatments have left his lungs with chronic inflammation, which makes it difficult for him to do his job because he's a self-employed general contractor. And I was just talking to him. He was getting some blood work done on Monday, and luckily for him, Canada, with its free healthcare, only made him pay $200 for the blood test. And while he was there at the whatever the hell it was, he probably picked up a cold. And as you know, he with 76 lymph nodes missing, it makes it kind of difficult to fight off the common cold. So he's a little under the weather right now. He had a doctor's appointment this afternoon. And I hope he turns it around and gets feeling better, because he was going to be at the shoot, I think, helping with the barbecue and with a friend or two there. So
nice.
Well, I mean, hopefully he feels better, not just so that he could be at the shoot, but just in general, because it sounds like he's going through enough.
Yeah.
And Gavin, we have some excellent sponsors for the shoot. Do you want to?
Yes, we do. We have a bunch of excellent sponsors. Ragnarok
Titan.
Tactical, as always.
Titan
love
Tactical.
those guys.
Tactical. Yeah, Titan is actually,
right.
they've offered up a class, so you too could take the class that I took over the weekend, which
Not the band.
I've done some interning myself, and the class value is $245 plus government theft, which works out to what, like $275-ish, somewhere around there. We've got some more swag up from Grey Fox Strategic, some T-shirts from Wardall. Some more classes from TDSA. We've got 2,000 rounds of ammo that's going to be up for grabs from Firearms Outlet Canada. I picked that up the other day. We've got some stuff from Lands Shooting Supplies as well.
Matador.
Select Shooting as well. And yes, Matador. They're sending us a break, one of those 1022 tri-mag adapter kits that makes it look like your rifle has testicles. Very nice. And a T-shirt, and then Xfil Apparel has sent some T-shirts our way as well. So some pretty cool swag.
There's also a signed,
yes,
autographed Vickers sling signed by Larry Vickers himself. So
it was probably the most immaculate signature I have ever seen.
The guy's got a fine signature, very bold.
Yeah, it's like it was stamped,
but it wasn't.
True, it wasn't, but
yeah. Anyway,
nor did Tim or I sign it.
Yeah, weather's supposed to be great. We'll have loaner guns there. We'll have ammunition for sale as an extra fee. Bring lots of cash for the for buying tickets for the prizes. The way it works is you buy tickets and then you put those tickets towards which prize you want to bid on. So then we'll have cheeseburgers, pop chips, and for lunch, and it's going to be an excellent day, surrounded by excellent people for a good cause.
Yeah, can't ask for much more, really.
Oh, but there is much more. There's a beer and wing night after.
There is.
Yes.
You need like the
Amazing.
coked out guy with the beard to like do the whole thing for you, you know. Except I think he's dead. What's his name?
I think that guy did die.
Didn't he?
ShamWow dude.
The Colonel?
Oh,
No.
I forget his name.
Billy Mays.
Yeah, Billy Mays. He's got to be dead.
No, I thought you meant the young guy
I don't know, the young guy.
with the sticky.
Sticky.
I don't know, different TV spokespeople, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it'll be a great time, and the social after is always the fun part because you get to kick back, have a few beverages, brag about how well you did, break the balls of those who didn't do so well, show off all the swag that you won, and maybe we'll figure out exactly what is in that room in the basement at the Shakespeare's Arms this time around.
Yes.
Maybe we can only hope.
See,
before we
that
close out the
sounds
show,
fun.
I have a little bit more listener feedback.
Uh-oh.
Apparently, we also owe our listeners a radio episode that we haven't done yet. So before we do the online privacy, personal security stuff, maybe we should also do the radio episode we promised.
We promised a radio episode?
Apparently. I don't know. I drink a lot on Monday nights, so it's hard for me to remember these things. But
a radio episode,
listener,
what's that entail?
I think we listened to the CBC
I
radio.
imagine at some point we were talking about our many ham radios that we've collected.
Oh,
but don't use yet because we don't have any.
Yes, we definitely don't use the ham radios that we have ever under any circumstances.
Yeah,
because we are not licensed to operate in this country.
Thanks, CRTC. Comes back.
Amazing. All right, let's.
We need to listen. We need to watch Starship Troopers and provide commentary.
You gotta teach people how to utilize a radio in a way that's conducive to. I probably can't say what I wanted to say, so I'm just going to stop talking.
Fair.
All right. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on the Instagrams at urbex_GTA. Or next Saturday live and in person in Guelph at the charity shoot.
Matt, where can everybody find you?
Facebook.com/Liberty Death Podcast. Check out the Liberty Death Podcast, International Liberty Death Podcast, on Stitcher, Podcast Republic, iTunes, all over the place. And also where all fine revolutionary tales are woven at various campfires around the continent.
Fair enough.
And in spirit at Guelph next weekend.
Oh, only in spirit. Okay, that's fine. We'll allow that.
Unfortunately.
Spirits are vicious.
Next year I'll make it up.
Tim, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at timsgoodtshirts.ca or facebook.com/timsgoodtshirts, or you can see me at the Golf Rod and Gun Club. Come on out, join the shoot, get a free Tim's Good t-shirt. It says Fuck Cancer Charity Shoot 2017 on it.
Yep.
All right. As always, my name is Andrew. You can find me teaching gun stuff at Ragnarok Tactical. Come and get some bandages and stuff. shop.ragnaroktactical.ca. We have to apologize to Rod Giltaka, as always. I couldn't fit him onto this evening's full panel. And for all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.